Let's solve a question together, because I have a question that I've been very confused about this season, and we're going to solve it in this video, I think. Or are we? Who knows? Let's find out. The question, of course, why do the Ravens keep blowing these leads? It's a very weird one, because seemingly on paper, they're a team that's very uniquely built to win in these types of situations. So, they can run the ball very well. They're a smart team, make smart decisions, but they keep choking away these games in the fourth quarter. What's happening? This chart was my first theory. My first theory was, is it possible that the Ravens are doing something with either throwing the ball too much or throwing the ball too little in these late game situations? So first what I'm doing is, if you take out those late game situations, only situations where each team has at least a 30% chance to win according to win probability, they run the ball 1% more than expected. You see the top bar right there, that's all plays, and their pass frequency is 1% under expected, so meaning they run the ball 1% more than expected. However, if you then go to all situations, it's very similar. I mean, the all plays is still minus 1%, so that didn't change at all. You saw a couple of changes, a couple of small changes in some other areas. I mean, really nothing major though, so I don't think that it's because of this. That was a theory I had, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. I was then thinking, is it possible that, they don't really have a household name at edge rusher? Is that why they've been, struggling to close out some of these games? But you look at their pass rush, they've actually been 12th according to Pro Football Focus grade in pass rush this season. So I don't know if I'm really willing to say that's the case either. It probably isn't. So, okay, my first couple of theories were wrong. Maybe we just have to go back and watch these blown leads and talk about what happened. I'm not going to include the Bills game. To me, that felt like they kind of got a little bit lucky at the beginning of the game, and then the Bills just outplayed them for kind of the second half. That's what I saw. But the other three were absolutely blown games, so let's just get into them and talk about them. The first game was, we're going to look at again, the endings here. So the Ravens were able to get up 10 points with 4 minutes left in the third quarter, but then you saw a touchdown drive, they threw an interception, another touchdown drive, a fumble, and then the game was over. You might look at that and say, okay, you don't want to give up those touchdowns. I looked back and watched those touchdown drives. It didn't feel like the Giants did too much differently. They just started hitting the throws they weren't hitting later on. So to me, that felt kind of fluky. There was definitely one massive mistake in this game, and that's kind of the biggest trend I've probably noticed. Like, watch, it's this play, and again, just to set the stage, we're talking, only a couple minutes left, about 3 minutes left in this football game with the Ravens up 3, but on a third down, you don't want to just give the other team the ball. You would like to, hopefully, to run out the clock here and never give the other team a chance. But on this play, you're going to see a botched snap. Lamar tries to make something happen, rolls outside the pocket, and just throws an ill-advised pass that ends up getting intercepted. Just a bad decision by Lamar after a botched snap that might have been Lamar's fault. I'm not sure whose fault that was, but really just a mistake. That's, an error, a fluky play that you typically do not expect the Ravens to make, and it happened to happen in the worst spot. If this just happened in isolation, I would say, okay, that means nothing to me. Maybe not nothing, maybe that's too strong, but the reality is it wouldn't mean a lot to me. There would be no major takeaways, but obviously this was not the first time that something like this has happened. It happened earlier in the season. Going over here, we saw the Ravens look like they were going to dominate the Dolphins. For a while, they were dominating them with a 35 to 14 point lead in the fourth quarter. But then we saw, after the Ravens touchdown drive to give them the 35 points, we saw a touchdown for the Dolphins, then a turnover on downs, a touchdown for the Dolphins, a punt, a touchdown for the Dolphins, a field goal, and then a touchdown for the Dolphins to eventually win it. So what happened? Why did they start giving up so many touchdowns? There's actually a much more simple explanation this time. Marlon Humphrey went down with an injury, and I'm assuming that was a part of why this happened. There's obviously going to be more details than just that, but that was definitely an aspect of it. But this play was another great example of just yet another mistake by the Ravens. And this is kind of, again, I said it's become a trend. This is something that you would notice. There's, at this spot, it's a cover 3 zone, and you see I'm highlighting one Baltimore player right here because Tyreek Hill's running a deep shot. So, okay, it's not a great scenario to have Tyreek Hill with a one-on-one matchup, right? That's not something you want to have happen, but that's what the Ravens are doing here. The issue is that the corner who's on that side of the field doesn't realize that. Watch as you see, Tua is going to take the snap. Tua is going to look in that direction, and the corner thought it was cover 2. He thought he had safety help deep. He's playing it out. This is just a blown coverage, and again, a terrible time for it to happen late in the fourth quarter, trying to protect the lead. Tua's not going to miss that. He makes the throw. Tyreek Hill is able to make the grab, gets into the end zone for a touchdown. So again, how much do I take into account there? It's a blunder in the worst possible spot. That is what happened, for sure. Now let's go over to the one that we just saw against the Jaguars. This one a little bit different. You know, this last couple ones, the offense kind of cooled off down the stretch. This one, not so much. I mean, again, the Ravens go up 9 points here in the fourth quarter, but then you would see that the Jaguars would, score a touchdown to make it a 2-point game. You then saw a fumble, so that's not ideal. But then after the Jaguars kicked the field goal, the Ravens scored a touchdown of their own, followed up by the Jaguars scoring a touchdown, going for 2, and getting the 2-point conversion to win the game. The play I'm going to show for this one is actually kind of an example of this wasn't really like I would say a horrible blown coverage. To me, this was actually fine defense, really. There was no major mistake in this one by the Ravens. I mean, this is the concept designed to beat the zone coverage that the Ravens are in. That's certainly true. Lawrence is going to take the snap. Lawrence is going to look in that direction. And right here, I mean, okay, you have a situation where it's that corner is going to have to now pick up Zay Jones. That's how this is going to have to work. And you're going to see a really good throw from Trevor Lawrence, and he's able to hit Zay Jones. So, okay, good stuff all around by Jacksonville. But again, it's not like this is terrible play by the Ravens, or I don't think. To me, this doesn't feel like the Ravens are choking here. The Ravens kind of got beat by other teams making good plays. So what's the trend here? I really don't see one. I don't see any reason to believe that this should keep happening, which means I don't see any reason to believe it should continue. Now, I think the defense maybe just isn't as good as we thought it would be, and so kind of when you have to rely on the defense, that's created some issues. That's kind of the best thing I have going for it, but the reality is, I see no reason to believe that this is like a bad fourth quarter team. I mean, their mistakes have come in different areas. It's come from, Trevor Lawrence playing very well against them, or they blew a coverage, or Lamar Jackson makes an uncharacteristic bad throw. I mean, it's been different guys who've been screwing up each of these times, so I don't see why that would continue. So what's my kind of end thesis? What do I feel like is the answer to this question that I said we would come up with together? I think the answer is there's not really a thing. It just happened. That is football. As coincidences do happen. I think it's kind of just, been a coincidence that this has been a team who has happened to blow several leads. Who knows? Maybe there's some mental thing there. It's impossible to say. I don't know. But, really, that's kind of how I view it. But, that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.